Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. It's a Tuesday morning. We are coming to you as always from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. Overnight markets back at record highs once again. The 10th or the 12th or for the S&P or the Nasdaq. Here in India, can we stage some more recovery after what we saw yesterday? That's the question. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Nigel and Survi. Guys, morning.
Hi, morning, folks. Morning. Well, of course, earnings to go over, global markets to go over. And there's lots of other news as well that we need to look at, whether it's SEBI on Jane Street, whether it's a sudden change of management at Bajaj Finance. Yes. So plenty of exciting stuff to note today.
Well, that's right. And the US markets continue to make fresh all-time highs. When is our chance? Yesterday, at least we saw a bit of a pop-up. Yeah. Let's see whether or not we can, drive home the advantage.
Absolutely. Actually, the US almost seems to be in a low volatility. But apparently, retail participation is back at like 2021 meme levels. When you had that GameStop mania, etc.
Volumes were very high last night as well.
So it's all retail apparently, and because institutional action, etc., is 30-40% of the market should be higher. So we'll see. But it seemed like a bit of a melt-up, low-volume melt-up, if we can put it that way. But for what it's, of course, it is what it is. Price action is what it is. So US has hit another record high, both the S&P and the Nasdaq. S&P about 0.14 higher, Nasdaq about 0.4% up. Verizon was up about 4.5% after strong numbers. So that was one single stock which kind of did pull its weight. Nasdaq hit a record high for the 12th time this year. The S&P hit a record high for the 10th time this year. So those are some kind of records along the way. Wednesday's tech earnings, I think I'm just putting out, not today, but tomorrow evening, you will have Alphabet and Tesla, which basically will report numbers. And as we're kind of getting closer to it, these are important, big, large numbers. So will be interesting. By the way, about 25% of the S&P 500 report numbers by the 25th of June, between today and the 25th. So, we'll have a large cohort to assess what earnings strength looks like. It's been very good last few quarters, despite tariffs, etc. Dollar had a bit of a move. The dollar index, 97.85. So this is the broader dollar and 0.63% lower on the dollar index. Now, in terms of some local news flow, the India-US trade talks are going to continue beyond the 1st of August deadline. Said another way, before the 1st of August, and this is government sources telling CNBC-TV18 that it's unlikely that a deal will be reached before the 1st of August Trump deadline. That this is the India-US trade deal. US trade officials are due to visit India in mid-August. Remember, 5 rounds have taken place. Indian negotiators were in the US talking to their counterparts. They came back over the weekend. And the 6th round is scheduled for mid of August. And of course, government sources tell us that, there is disagreement on sensitive, important sectors on which India and the Indian government is not ready to give an inch. Agriculture, for example, is one. We'll talk more in detail as we kind of go along. But now this deadline watching, the 1st of August watching, I think we'll have to sort of look beyond. We've heard it from US officials themselves. I think the Commerce Secretary said 1st of August is a hard deadline, but we'll continue to talk with partners in terms of trade and agreements, etc., that can be reached. Now, just to kind of come in and tie in the levels here, bulls yesterday defended 2 things. One, the 61.8% retracement on a closing basis. This is the level we put out yesterday. And then on top of it, it reclaimed the 40-day exponential moving average yesterday. So the question is, are these early signs of a reversal? Sentiment is pretty, it's not bad, but positioning seems to be a bit of an extreme. And Nigel will talk more about that in terms of short positioning, etc., in the market. So it's a question. Early signs, we'll have to see. But we did reclaim the 40-day exponential moving average yesterday. That's the graphic. Now, resistance for the Nifty, if you have to go higher, is 25,255. This is the recent high. And then 25,369, which is nothing but the 61.8% of the entire decline that we have seen. Support for the Nifty comes in the near term at least at 24,882, which is nothing but the recent low that the index has seen. The Bank Nifty bounced strongly yesterday from the 40-day exponential moving average. And of course, ICICI, HDFC was a slew of financial earnings over the weekend, and the large caps pulled their weight. So that showed up on the Nifty Bank. Resistance here is 57,085, which is the 61.8% retracement of the entire decline we've seen. And support stands at 56,204 for the Nifty Bank. So just some levels to focus your mind in terms of where we might go from here. But yesterday was not bad. Of course, you could sort of chalk it up to ICICI and HDFC in a large way, but you had other sort of parts of the market which were looking a little better by close. Zomato, Eternal, etc. More on single stocks as we go along. GIFT Nifty will give you a quick sense of how we likely to start. 62 points higher is the indication this morning. Surbhi.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least so far, the large, Nifty earnings that have come in, they haven't disappointed too much. It's been pretty okay so far. So the market will hope if we get more of that. Let's start off by looking at Asian cues. And most markets across Asia have actually lost their mojo. They started off in a very positive way, building on those Wall Street gains. And remember, Japan is coming back after a holiday yesterday. And today is the first day the Japanese market is reacting to the weekend election results, where the sitting Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba. Remember, he lost his majority. But the result is not as bad as what some market pundits were hoping for. And there's some talk about whether he'll continue on as the Prime Minister of the country. So Japan opened with a pop, but that pop is fizzling out very soon. In fact, there's a fair amount of red now in the markets. If you look at the Hang Seng, for instance, or even the mainland Chinese market, they're flashing a little bit of caution and a little bit of red. All these markets will, of course, keep tracking a lot of the US action. That's the dollar yen. The dollar yen was very strong yesterday. The yen had surged 1% versus the dollar. There's an incremental slight gain on the yen even this morning as we speak. Now, today, Asian markets will track a lot of the US action, which includes big earnings. Philip Morris is, declaring today, Coca-Cola, Lockheed Martin, and tomorrow the tech names that Prashant mentioned. So it's a heavy earnings calendar, which markets are focused on. Yesterday, we had the conference board's index of leading indicators, and that fell more than expected in June. So far, the US economy has been rock steady. This was at one number that came in. The fall was 0.3% in June. Expectation was a 0.2% fall. So let's see. More economic data slated during the week. Speaking of economic data, here back home, we had the 8 core sector industries data come out. It remains very, very anemic. I mean, look at the numbers. 1.7% growth versus 1.2%. So month on month, at least that number is looking better, but it's still very weak. I've picked out the stars in the core sector industries, and it's steel and cement. Look at the numbers. I mean, 9.3% steel production increase, 9.2% cement production increase. And Nigel's been telling us about this. A lot of the companies have been reporting better numbers, and it's showing up in the macro data as well. Now, let's talk about the market. Yesterday, we had some support at the lower levels, which is what the bulls really will take heart from. But it wasn't the FPIs. It was more of domestic buying. So let's look at the cash market figures now. You had FPIs sell almost 1,700 crores in the cash market yesterday, but domestic institutions were more than offsetting that. Look at the strong buying, almost 3,600 crores of domestic buying coming in yesterday. Now, one more thing that the market will focus on is the fact that Jane Street has been allowed to come back to the market. The regulator approved them going back to F&O trading with the obvious caveat that there cannot be any direct or indirect manipulation. And exchanges have been told to keep a very keen eye, a hawk eye, on all the trades and all the activity. So will that lead to some kind of a pickup in volumes? We'll see. Wait for that. And coming to single stocks and the action over there, plenty of interesting, names to track today as well. There's Havells, which has been weak in terms of the action. There's news on Bajaj Finance, where there's a change of management. The current CEO has stepped down, very quickly, actually, in just 4 months. And Mr. Jain is coming back. So that's something that we'll watch out for as well. So a lot of the individual, news flow, stocks news flow will keep the market fully focused today. Nigel.
Well, the bulls yesterday, the good news was they went ahead, they defended that crucial 24,900 odd mark, and we saw a good bounce back. And the Nifty ended virtually at the high point of the day. That's good. All eyes are now on the 20-day MA. Can the bulls go ahead and conquer that mark? That's going to be the key trigger on the upside. Well, if you're looking at the action yesterday, well, the cash market volumes are rather high. And In the F&O market, you had a bit of short covering that played out for the markets on the whole. Remember, there's an element of rollovers as well, but the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank, both of them ended higher, and you had the open interest that was lower. Even the FIs, we mentioned this point, they're getting very, very aggressive on the short side. And yesterday, there was a tinge of some kind of short covering that we saw. Close to around 3,000 contracts were covered out, though they continue to remain net short with close to around 85% of their positions on the short side. Even in absolute terms, it's still at elevated levels of around 1.45 lakh contracts on the short side, while the clients are gradually moving towards the 1 lakh contracts on the long side. That's the positioning from both the big participants in the market. The clients as well as the FIs should come up for you on the screen. Moving to the options data then. The call writers, they were having a gala time. They were writing calls, on a day-to-day basis, eating the premium. Yesterday, they got stumped, actually. The 25,000 call, 25,200 call, both of them, there was some panic out there. So that's an interesting sign because otherwise, the bears, they felt that they had it. Call writers were going in there, they were writing calls, and they were eating into the premium. Yesterday, they got stumped. Now, important to see that this 25,100 put as well, it was one of the most active strikes yesterday. And it added 50 lakh shares, premium close to around 100 rupees. So that vicinity of around 24,900 to around 25,000 becomes extremely important. If you want a reference mark, well, we appear to be in this 450, 500 point range. On the upside, we need to get past this 25,320. Important mark to track. If the bulls can have enough in them and move past this mark, it's going to be important. Well, the reference point on the downside is yesterday's low. So keep an eye out on that mark. The Nifty Bank, if you need to move up from here, that one needs to be in top form, and it was in top form. In yesterday's trading session, it was up 700 points. And what it did was, it ended at the 20 DMA and it defended the 50 DMA. So that's looking good. Stocks that I'm tracking for today, well, two stocks because they come out of the F&O ban. Angel One, I believe that today, in fact, the capital market stocks will be in focus. So besides coming out of the F&O ban, Angel One is one stock that I'll look at. The other one is Hindustan Copper because it's come out of the F&O ban and copper prices have been fairly strong as well. So I'll keep an eye out on this one, the only direct play on copper pricing.
All right, we'll keep an eye on those names as trade starts. Ed Cliss